Simon, I think it's fair to say you're getting a bit fed up by some of the protests that we hear about, that fans are protesting against the Glazers because they feel somewhere along the line this will make the difference, that the Glazers will think, do you know what, we've run our course, maybe we should think of selling up. You say forget it, they're not going to.
Yeah, I mean, when I say fed up, I mean, I don't have that much emotional investment in what's happening. If it was at my club, I'd be fed up because I'd be on the receiving end of it.
Yeah.
But from a media standpoint of watching what I consider to be, I do feel, and I'm careful not to jeopardise my purported popularity with certain segments of our audience, but I do feel that certain fans are getting a bit ahead of themselves and getting a bit carried away with what they think they're entitled to do and how they think they're entitled to represent their discontent, and how influential they are in the well-being of football, and how the European Super League was stopped by fans, and all this narrative being built up, and how it's okay to glue yourself to a road, and how we should be able to do this, and how people should be able to do that. And there is a balance between expressing dissatisfaction and then engineering disruption and getting and your reach exceeding your grasp. United fans are fully entitled. It's not my right to tell them how unhappy they should be with their ownership model. They have every right to be as unhappy as they want to be.
Of course. Yeah.
What they want to achieve and what they're able to achieve, it's all well and good talking about like Andy Murray and Rafa Nadal saying, we don't agree with this, but we haven't got an alternative solution. Well, shut up then. If you haven't got anything alternative solution, then what have you got to say? And if you are not realistically going to oust the Glazers, realistically, if you've got a solution, if you want to rock in there and say, right, we've got X amount of buyers, the fans are going in, right, on this 50-plus rule, one rule that's in Germany, the fans can raise X amounts of hundreds of millions of pounds between us, and we've got an owner that's ready to buy it, and now we've got a proper solution for you. But if you just want to bark at the moon because you don't like something...
But they're raising awareness, Simon. All the time it raises awareness.
But everybody knows that they're unhappy with it, and everybody knows that... And then United fans will say, yes, we have been black and gold, isn't it? Or green and gold, isn't it?
Green and gold.
That was a song, Black and Gold, wasn't it? We've all known that they have been unhappy with the Glazers since they walked in the door. This is not just the byproduct of a lack of achievement.
Right.
But by Christ, has it been brought to an acute point by the lack of achievement? Do you think, really, that the level of intensity that's going now with this dissatisfaction from a section of the United fans would be anywhere near as acute if the team were winning on the pitch? And they make the argument.
Of course it would.
It's not just that.
I agree.
We hated them since they walked in the door. I saw Henry Winter's podcast, virtue signalling claptrap that lives in some naive world where people buy football clubs because they love it. All those guys that are going into Chelsea are all going in there because they're philanthropists that just want to make sure that Chelsea's okay. No, they don't. Man City wasn't bought because Sheikh Mansour cared about Manchester. He wanted to legitimise a particular regime. Newcastle isn't being bought because the Saudis are wonderful people, but they're being bought for the exact same purpose.
Yeah.
So this notion that football clubs aren't commercial animals, people have to grow up and accept that.
You're not a fan of Henry's podcast, no?
No, I'm not a fan of Henry's virtue signalling via that podcast, because we've got to live in the real world where footballers are getting paid £200,000 a week. Big businesses are broadcasting it around the world. It is now a money business.
So you think if the players were doing it on the pitch, you wouldn't have this unrest about the Glazers? No,
you would still have unrest, and I acknowledge their point. But it would be nowhere near to the level that it's now.
I think you're right about that.
It's logic.
Mark Noble once said to me, the protests about London Stadium will go when we start winning games.
Oh, he was helpful as well, wasn't he?
No, but what he said was right, Simon. At the end of the day, what he said was right.
Yeah, but the right people have got to say it, is what Simon means. But I think we've said this all along with Manchester United, haven't we? If they had more success on the pitch, then this would be quieter.
Yeah.
There are people who came out when we first talked about this and said, started identifying dates in the diary when they protested years ago, etc., etc. But what more, other than the owners changing, what more can they do now? So there's a new manager coming in. Yeah. There's been an exodus of staff gone. People in scouting positions, people in recruitment positions. Yeah. Every week there's a new one leaving.
Yeah.
So there is a restructuring going on, which is what the fans wanted to a degree. But they want the owners out. That's not going to happen. So although they might want to leave at, what would it be, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 fans 17 minutes before the end?
Yeah.
Is it going to achieve anything?
But they're also wrong. And there's influential voices that don't help the dynamic. Gary Neville virtue signalling to the audience about, I know it's not ideal that the owners take £25 million dividends, but this is the real world of big business. And this is what happens in businesses that are owned by public limited companies. And the £25 million a year that they take in dividends is not ideal. but it doesn't stop the £350 million wage bill they've got from not lifting a leg or playing with a lick on to be able to win games and to be able to be competent in the job that they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And you've got people like Henry talking about the idea that they don't care. Don't be stupid. The Glazers need that team to win too. They're not stupid. They know that they were not in the Premier League, when they're not in the Champions League, their share price is deflated.
And that's why they care, though, isn't it? That's why
if they didn't care. If they didn't care, would they be given 70 million for Sancho or 80 million?
But they're not caring because their hearts are with Manchester United.
Of course their hearts is not. They're Americans.
But
what
your
do you
heart
expect?
was with Palace.
Because I was born 100 yards from the stadium.
Yeah.
You think Todd Bowley's going to care? Do you think Abramovich cared that much about Chelsea? He cared because it was a reflection of him and he wanted to win, and he bought Chelsea because it was a way to legitimise his position in the world.
Well, what Simon's saying is it's not going to make the blindest bit of difference, right? To whittle it down, it's really not going to make, whether with 17 minutes to go to mark the 17 years the Glazers been in charge, there ain't no damn point leaving your seat.
Correct. Well, there is a point. You can miss the first 17 minutes of the game if that's what you choose to do.
About the last 17.
Are you going to do that? You're going to go to the game tonight? Are you going to protest against the Glazers? 03717 22344. Let me put it out there, actually. In the final part of the show today, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's hear from you. Anyone going to Old Trafford tonight to protest against the Glazers, tell us why you're doing it. Because at the end of the day, as far as Simon's concerned, as far as many people are concerned, it's not going to shift the owner.
Present a solution. Present a solution then. This football club needs to be run. It's a $5 billion business. Get someone to buy it then. Present a solution, and then we can all say, that's a good point. They're just shouting for the sake of shouting because they don't like something. 03717
22344. You can message me at 81089. On the pitch, Danny. On the pitch, what we hear is at the end of it, the United players are expected to stay on the pitch after the match to applaud the fans during a lap of honour near the end of the season, which, of course, many of the fans have been targeted by the many of the players have been targeted by the very supporters who will allegedly be applauding tonight. When you look at it, Danny, they're 28 points behind their noisy neighbours going into this. Should the players bother with a lap of honour tonight?
Yeah, they should.
Should they be applauded?
Well, that's down to the fans and their individual opinion on the players they've seen. You know, they might applaud one player and not another. But there's a lot of young United supporters who are looking forward to going to that game tonight and looking forward to getting close up and applaud their idols, some of them, and the guys they look up to. And that shouldn't be ever diminished. And I also think that it's the players' responsibility to thank the supporters, even through thick, even whether you have had a bit of stick or not. It's just what you do.
So it's really for the players to thank the fans?
Yes, and if the fans want to give them a bit of stick on the way round, well, you grow a pair, you put your head up, your chin up, and you take it. And then you take it in the right way and you go and do something about it.
It defeats the purpose, though, doesn't it? If they're standing there walking round and some fans are letting loose...
But I don't think you'll ever get a unanimous negative group of supporters at any club there'll always be a section of loyal supporters who'll applaud the players back. And for those, even if it's a minimal amount, which I think it'll be more than you think tonight at Old Trafford, because a lot of the fans are very loyal, even for that small amount of supporters, you do it. I think it would be wrong, and it would certainly give off the wrong impression to get rid of it.
It's 𝙚𝙥𝙘𝙘's last game in charge, in interim charge at home at Old Trafford of Manchester United. He's been talking about recruiting players to United.
He's got a job, hasn't he? Manager of Austria, apparently.
He's got a job. He's managing Austria, of course, and he's still going to be a consultant a couple of days a week or something, or even less. But he's still hopeful that United can attract top players.
As a club, with regard to supporters, stadium, quality of our training ground, yes, it definitely is. But we also have to be realistic. As soon as other clubs like Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City are involved, then you need some good reasons, and somebody needs to explain to the players.
Is it now the case, Danny, that top players who want to come to play in the Premier League, and there are many, won't entertain the thought of United because of where they are?
I wouldn't say not entertain. I think if a player, a top player, has other options, then they'll be choosing them first because they'll get the same money somewhere else, but they'll also have a much better opportunity at winning silverware. It's got to be a hell of a sell, Man United at the moment, from Ten Hag, if he meets a player and tries to lure him away from Anfield or Man City, or even Chelsea for that matter. The way they'll do it is by pounds and pence. Just pay more. That's the only way they're going to be able to do it.
Danny, Simon, this Red Sam, who seems to know a bit more about the Glazers than most.
Yes.
Can you tell Simon, Jim, the Glazers took 150 million out last season for dividends, debt repayment, refinancing. It's not 25 million. They
it stopped them from doing what?
They owe 250 million in transfers. How long can we carry on like this?
And it stopped them from doing what? What's it stopped them from doing? What's it stopped them from doing? What? Breaching financial fair play. So they go and buy £200 million footballers that will eventually put them into a situation where they breach financial fair play if they play by the rules. What does it stop them from doing? They're one of the highest spending football clubs in world football. There could be an argument they need to improve the stadium, and they've already told you they're going to improve the stadium.
Yeah.
There could be an argument they need to do a Carrington, and the fans will say that was us creating downward pressure on them doing it. And yes, they should be a bit more diligent. What has it stopped? The principle of being £500 million in debt is a notional figure. Debt is only something that's a problem. Everyone's got a mortgage on their house. Do you think you own your house, or do you think the bank owns the house? Right? The bottom line is that in an ideal world, they would have Roman Abramovich and someone like him come along and own a football club. Lovely. Would it be much better for you to have had Roman Abramovich? How about we get one of those Middle Eastern chappies over that have got such wonderful backgrounds to own your football club? How about we get one of those guys in? Because what you're looking for is the perfect circle. Someone buys your football club and just gives you precisely what you want when you want it. And even then, there'll be a segment of Man United fans that weren't happy if the team doesn't win.
Okay.
It's about winning.
Well, you're going to take part in this protest tonight. Many of you tell us that you are, and I'm looking at many of the messages coming in. So Simon's just posed a question, and I'll pose it getting into this break. The Glazer ownership of your football club, what have they stopped United from doing? What have they stopped United from doing? What really gets up your noses about the Glazers when it all boils down to it? Richard says he's a Manchester United fan. It's time for our fans to get big girl pants on tonight. Unless Steve from the local chippy can buy the club and pump his money into the business, make it successful, we have to deal with what we've got. Unless, of course, you want a Saudi takeover of United. Support the team tonight. Stop wasting your time. Is Richard right? Is he right? Are you wasting your time protesting tonight? 03717 223344.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.